government. I'm really struck that you think now that Israel did commit war crimes, and yet at the time, and I get why, but at the time you were at the podium and you couldn't say that. I mean, personally, that must be very difficult.
Well, so the State Department itself had concluded, not in these, they didn't phrase it in these terms, but I think I did at the podium a few times, had concluded that it was likely that Israel had committed war crimes. But I do think it's almost certain that they have.
Throughout the Biden administration, one of the faces of genocide in Washington was Matthew Miller, the State Department spokesperson, who every day would get up and basically gaslight everybody in the room and the nation into claiming that, there were no Israeli war crimes that the U.S. was facilitating.
Count Chocula.
Exactly. Count Smirkula, as they call it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he is.
Well, now Matt Miller is changing his tune. Now that he's out of office. Yeah, but just as a reminder of what he was saying back when he was at the podium, this is some of what Matt Miller used to tell reporters every day.
Human Rights Watch, Amnesty, International Criminal Court can all find compelling evidence of war crimes by Israel, and the United States, with its enormous powers of intelligence and direct contact with Israel, can't find those things.
I would say that different organizations have different burdens, different responsibilities, and we take ours very seriously and are taking these assessments very seriously and want to finish them as soon as possible, but it's important that we get them right.
So that's Matt Miller back when he was at the State Department podium. Let's hear from Matt Miller today, now that he's out of office.
I think it is without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes.
You wouldn't have said that at the podium.
Yeah, look, because when you're at the podium, you're not expressing your personal opinion. You're expressing the conclusions of the United States government.
I'm really struck.
Okay, we're going to rewind that because Kurt was laughing too.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll mute it. Let me mute it. I can't.
Yeah, mute yourself, Kurt. Let's hear Matt Miller now that he's no longer up at that State Department podium.
Without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes.
You wouldn't have said that at the podium.
Yeah, look, because when you're at the podium, you're not expressing your personal opinion. You're expressing the conclusions of the United States government.
I'm really struck that you think now that Israel did commit war crimes, and yet at the time, and I get why, but at the time you were at the podium and you couldn't say that. I mean, personally, that must be very difficult.
Well, so the State Department itself had concluded, not in these, they didn't phrase it in these terms, but I think I did at the podium a few times, had concluded that it was likely that Israel had committed war crimes. But I do think it's almost certain that they have.
Oh, thanks for telling us.
So basically, he's admitting that he got up there every single day and lied. He knew they were committing war crimes, but because his government hadn't come to that conclusion, it was okay for him to basically lie through his teeth and say that Israel had not committed war crimes.
Cash Patel. Same difference.
All right, let's save your.
There you go.
Let's. You can litigate your beef with Cash Patel some other time, but we're talking about Matthew Miller now covering up war crimes while he was at the State Department. And now just out of office, like, yeah, sure. Yeah, there were war crimes.
Do you remember when he got back in? So Biden comes in, he quit his job because he couldn't believe Trump got in 2016, and he was outraged by whatever bullshit he said. Then he comes back, that we started covering here on the show with all the Ukraine thing, and I couldn't believe this scumbag because he was like, oh, the ethics and the violations. And now he just got done after his triumphant return under Biden telling you he's lying about war crimes.
Here is more of Matthew Miller then and now.
I think it is without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes.
You wouldn't have said that at the podium.
Yeah, look at bureaus that look at facts, apply them to international law, and make assessments. Those assessments are ongoing, and we have not yet at this time concluded that Israel has violated international humanitarian law, but we have ongoing assessments across a number of different fronts.
So all these organizations are just wrong? They just see the law differently?
I'm telling you that we have ongoing assessments, and we have not yet reached that conclusion. Failed to implement all of the things that we recommend in that letter. Now, that said, we are not at the end of the 30-day period, and we are in conversation.
Not ready to give them
it's not the end. It's not the end of the semester. We don't hand out grades in the middle. Gives you the right.
So he's just constantly deflecting and lying, and now he's admitting that he was lying about it. A
lot of tape to go through. A lot of tape we got to go through.
Now, but meanwhile, though, when he says there, when he gives the excuse that, well, the State Department hadn't officially concluded that Israel was committing war crimes, so therefore it's okay for me to lie about it. I mean, that's not even true because many of his State Department colleagues did conclude Israel was committing war crimes. Mm-hmm. They just were pushed out or resigned.
Yes.
And, one example is All right, this is not the screenshot. Well, one example is Stacey Gilbert, who quit her job. She was in the State Department for 20 years, but she quit her job after she found that reports were being falsified to absolve Israel of war crimes. And she spoke about this to the journalist Hind Hassan for Al Jazeera.
Stacey Gilbert was asked for her input on a Biden administration report on whether Israel was committing war crimes in Gaza.
I was shocked to see that it said in very clear terms, it is our determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance.
You had advised that that wasn't the case. Is that correct?
Yes. The subject matter experts were removed, and the report was moved up to a higher level. We were told you will see the report when it is released publicly.
And then the report comes out and just doesn't include what you had to say?
I wasn't sure I read that correctly. I read it again, and I sent an email then that I would resign as a result of that.
Do you remember what you wrote in your resignation email?
I said that report will haunt us. And it does. And it haunts me. The determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance is patently, demonstrably false.
So that's someone with a conscience, some basic human decency, who couldn't go along with her government, the U.S., facilitating Israeli war crimes. And Matt Miller, by contrast, is now acknowledging he knew exactly as she did that Israel was committing war crimes. It was blocking humanitarian aid. It was carrying out mass murder. But he got up every day at the podium and lied about it and deflected. And, someone who called him out for this in one of the very last press conferences that Matthew Miller had at the State Department was journalist Max Blumenthal. When he confronted Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he also confronted Matthew Miller.
Your legacy be genocide. How does it feel to have your legacy be genocide? You too, Matt. You smirk through the whole thing every day. You smirk through a genocide.
Thank you.
That's right. Matthew Miller smirked through a genocide. And now, by his own admission, we've confirmed, he said it himself, he lied to the genocide as well.
Well, guess what? He's going to work again because of that. Because the only people that move up into power are Matthew Millers. That lady that is haunted, who was a sucker true believer in, I guess, in her job. I can't believe they still exist. She found out, just like I know I'm haunted by the food. You go where the kids are starving and set up food so they can see it. Those videos are so, that's like one of the darkest things I think I've ever seen in my whole life. And I can only think about it every time I hear someone blathering about, well, they have to defend themselves. Is that what that is? Self-defense?
Come see us on tour in Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.